Hello everybody. Alright, we got us a derivative we need to find. This is arcsin of x over square root of x squared plus 1. Alright, so, well, we know that the derivative of arcsin of x is equal to 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. That's the formula for the derivative of inverse sine or arcsin. Okay? Alright, so here we get, well, let me change colors. We get y prime is equal to 1 over 1 minus, so it's 1 minus x squared, and in this case, see, x is what we're taking the arcsin of. Well, we're taking the arcsin of this thing, so that's going to be x over the square root of x squared plus 1 squared. Alright, and then it's times, we got to multiply by the derivative of what we're taking the arcsin of. So to take the derivative of this thing, we're going to have to use the quotient rule. So this is going to be times, well, the derivative of the numerator is 1. We have to use the quotient rule here, times the denominator, minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator. And the derivative of the denominator is 2 square root x squared plus 1 over 2x. And then this is all over the denominator squared. All right. So let me just explain something to you real quick of how I got the derivative of this square root of x squared plus 1. There's a little shortcut you can use. Let me erase this. There's a little shortcut you can use. If you have y equals the square root of x squared plus 1, that's what we took the derivative of. Well, the derivative of that, whenever you're taking, yeah, you can change this to x squared plus 1 raised to the 1/2, use the chain rule. But instead of doing that, if you have a square root to take the derivative, a shortcut, you can just do 2 times whatever the square root is, put that in the denominator, and then look underneath the square root. What's the derivative of x squared plus 1? 2x. Okay, and that's it. So in other words, if you have y equals the square root of some function, whatever the function is, then y prime is 2 times the square root of that function, and then the derivative of that function goes in the numerator. That's just a little shortcut, save you a little time there. All right, now we got to simplify this thing. Oops, and I forgot my square root right there. All right. All right, so now we have y prime is equal to 1 over 1 minus x squared over x squared plus 1, and it's the square root of all that. And then times square root of x squared plus 1 minus, what is that? X squared over the square root of x squared plus 1, all that over x squared plus 1. All right, so here we've got the 2's cancel, and then this term squared, well, that just gets rid of the square root. All right, so now we've got y prime is equal to what? Well, that's 1 over, and then that's going to be the square root, and I'm going to get a common denominator of x squared plus 1. So this numerator will stay x squared, and this one will be x squared plus 1 when we get the common denominator. And then that's times. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to multiply each of these terms by the square root of x squared plus 1. See, I can look at this as being over 1 and this as being over 1, and I get the common denominator of 1, square root of x squared plus 1, and 1, and multiply each term by the common denominator. And so that's going to give me x squared plus 1 minus x squared over, now this over here, this is x squared plus 1 to the first power times, times x squared plus 1 to the 1/2. Now we can multiply these and say this is x squared plus 1 to the 3/2. Remember, if you have like bases, you add the exponents. Okay, so I can leave it like that. I mean, I can do this, or I can just leave it like this, or leave it like this right here. Either one. I think right now what I want to do is I want to write this as x squared plus 1 times the square root of x squared plus 1. I think we might benefit from that a little more. So let's leave it like that for right now. I mean, we may eventually end up doing this. I don't know, but let's just leave it like that for right now. So now I get y prime is equal to 1 over, and that's going to be the square root of 1 over x squared plus 1. All right, so you got x squared minus x squared. Those go out, and you're left with just the 1 there. And then this is going to be times 1 over x squared plus 1 times the square root of x squared plus 1. All right, now I don't know if you can see this, but let's do this. Let's write this a little bit different, and maybe you can see it. And then that's going to be times 1 over x squared plus 1 times 1 over square root of x squared plus 1. And then let's write it different again. Let's put this whole thing here underneath the square root. I mean, it's the same thing because square root of 1 is 1. But look what we did here. This cancels with this. And so now I'm left with, now I'm left with y prime is equal to 1 over x squared plus 1. And there's your derivative. So wasn't too bad. It was a little messy, quite a bit of algebra in there, but I hope that video helped you. Check out my other videos. Give me a like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.